Hello there, my name's Jill Webb. Part of my training company offer is to help people deal with those difficult conversations, often in the workplace. Funny enough, it's quite popular, managing challenging discussions. Not managing them clearly, but coming along on the training. And this particular model is so well received by my learners that I thought it'd be worth sharing it with you today. It's based on the work of a man called Eric Berne, and Berne is spelt B-E-R-N-E. Eric Berne wrote a very famous book called Games People Play. If you've never ever read it, I recommend it to you. It's not heavy reading and it's absolutely fascinating. He particularly talked about one way that we tend to interact with each other that leads to quite a lot of problems. So let me show you. Eric Berne suggested that inside all of us there are 3 bits. Those of you that have been on my courses will know that drawing is not my strong point, but I hope they are clearly 3 circles. There is the adult bit, or he called it the state. So we can be in an adult state, we can be in a child state, and we can be in a parent state. Most of us have all 3 of these inside us. So for example, hopefully most of us are quite adult when it comes to things like managing our money. On the whole, we know what we can afford to spend and what we can't afford to spend. Most of us have a bit of a childlike bit in us, and that can be great. Jumping in the puddles in the rain with your kids, whatever it is. But also, do you ever work with another adult and think, I wish they'd stop behaving like a child? And most of us have some parent in us. If we are parents, we need that. And we often talk about that critical parent. We need to set those boundaries and say, this isn't good enough. But sometimes that doesn't work in adult relationships. And what Eric Berne said, which a lot of people find really useful, is that when I'm talking to you, everything's okay if my adult state is talking to your adult state. But conversations get difficult when it goes wrong. So let's imagine I'm managing you at work and I'm not very happy with a piece of work you've done. I like to think I'd address that in quite an adult way, and I might say, Ian, I'm really a bit concerned about this work. You've had plenty of time to do it and it's not quite what I asked for. So I've fairly clearly and non-confrontationally set out what I want. Now, in an ideal world, Ian will respond in a really adult way and will say something like, right, can we have a chat about what your expectations were? Or actually, I've been waiting for a chance to catch you because I'm a bit concerned about this work. But you can guess where we're going here. Much more often, I set off in the adult mode and I might get a very childlike response. I might get, that's not fair. You always give me more work than you give Marcus. I've worked so hard. I've worked for months and months for this company for no pay rise. It's not fair. You can almost hear those childlike words coming out. And of course, the challenge for me is to stay in an adult state because we're human. And human nature, you behave like a child. Guess what? I'm going to behave like the parent. Well, it's about time you pulled your socks up, Ian. Your work is absolutely disgraceful. Kind of people that we have work in this organisation, there's no space for you. Off goes Ian on a rant, and you can see how that conversation goes downhill so quickly. It's a really useful little tip, this, and I challenge you, do a bit of eavesdropping. You'll find when you listen to conversations, it's actually really easy to identify. It can happen the other way round. So I chat to somebody that I perhaps manage in a work situation and say, oh, I wondered if you might be able to take on a bit of extra work for me next week, Owen. Well, Owen appears quite grown up. I don't get the stamping that I got from Ian, but I suddenly realise I'm getting quite a lot of critical parent. Well, I suppose I could do. I'm surprised you can't do it, though. I mean, I'd have thought really that was the manager's job. You know, I think that I probably know a bit better than you how this company should be run. So you can see how that's playing out. Now, if you come on one of my courses, we'll go into this in a lot more detail. We'll use some case studies. But I just think that's a really useful gem to take away with you. If I'm going to have to deal with a difficult conversation, am I staying in adult state? And some really good words to watch out for. If you are thinking things like it's not fair, you are going into child state. Life isn't fair. We all know that. But when you start to hear yourself saying things like that, be really aware of it. And if you're becoming overly authoritarian and critical, well, if I were you, I'd do it this way. Oh, knows nothing. This is the way it should be done. You're probably moving to that parent state. I really commend you the work of Eric Berne, and I hope you've just found that a bit of fun, but something quite interesting to take away with you today. Thank you very much.